Hi, I'm Julia Ham, President and CEO of the Smart Electric Power Alliance, and I am here today with Gil Quiniones, who is the President and CEO of the New York Power Authority and also a member of the SEPA board. Gil, good to see you.
Great to see you, Julia.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to chat with me today. You're there in New York, NYPA as an agency of the state. Obviously, you're in a state with a governor who's very progressive on climate issues, has big ambitions. So talk to me about the drivers of the state's clean energy and carbon reduction goals, and then also how that translates down to you running NYPA.
Absolutely. I believe it was last week when Governor Cuomo actually was in Washington, D.C. He had a meeting with the president, but then he had a press conference at the National Press Club. And one of his slides basically said that we will really lean in and do clean energy projects as part of the reopening and as part of a catalyst to really catalyze the economy from growing again. So it is front and center of his agenda. As you know, we also passed the climate, one of the most aggressive climate change legislation last year.
So what were some of the drivers that led to that legislation?
Well, it's very clear that we need to address the climate change crisis. I think there was really a coming together of all sectors here in New York State that then culminated for that legislation to be passed, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. In fact, this year, there was another legislation that was part of the governor's budget, which was passed in March. And that legislation will accelerate the permitting of siting for large-scale renewables and the necessary transmission to connect them to the grid. So we're really, moving this along, and they're just not goals or aspirations. All of these are codified in law. So we have to do them.
Right.
And so you expect for a lot of activity in New York, especially as part of the recovery process, because I think you will see that New York will really use these clean energy projects to help the economy recover.
Yeah, well, I do want to get to that, but before we do, so you talked about the legislation and sort of the state's commitments. Talk about NYPA. So, other than the fact that you have to do these things because they're part of the law, what are some of the things that have been motivating NYPA to change how it's doing business to really focus on clean energy and carbon reduction within your own activities and the work you're doing with your customers?
Absolutely. And it's really from the customer. 5 years ago when we created our strategic plan, we called it NYPA 2020. We're actually now into our NYPA 2030 planning process. It was really we placed the customer at the center of this transformation of our energy industry. And our customers have told us that they would like to decarbonize, that they would like to address the challenge of climate change. And because of that, we centered our strategy to that desire of our customers. So we have been, so aside from the state policy and state legislation that directs us to that destination, it's really a desire of our customers to do so. And our job is to help our customers decarbonize.
Great. Well, and for those who aren't familiar with NYPA, you're not a traditional distribution utility. So just quickly fill people in on how NYPA is different from some other utilities they may be aware of.
Well, the New York Power Authority, also known as NYPA, is the largest state-owned electric utility. We produce about 25% of electricity in New York, 75% of that from clean hydroelectric power. We also own and operate a third of the power transmission system, the big grid in New York State. So if you look at our assets, our hydroelectric assets, and the grid, we're really the shock absorber of the state system. We're the backbone and the shock absorber of the power system in New York. We serve government customers. We serve about 51 municipal and rural cooperative systems. and we serve large commercial and industrial for economic development purposes.
Great. I think that's helpful context for folks. So now I do want to go to the conversation of COVID. You know, it is fantastic to see the leadership from Governor Cuomo talking about using clean energy and really using this as an opportunity to reboot the economy and really accomplish multiple objectives at once. But talk to me about what might be are there new challenges that are going to be in front of the state in accomplishing those objectives as a result of COVID, or is it really upside in terms of an opportunity to accelerate?
I think there are both challenges and opportunities. The challenges, of course, will be just the shock in the economy,
Mm-hmm.
right, of this COVID crisis. So a lot of businesses are going to be hurting, and the question is, what will they do in terms of investing in clean energy? On the other side, the opportunity is that there are projects that actually help the customer's bottom line and help them achieve their goals to also be more sustainable and to decarbonize. So those are the ones that we're going to be focusing on to get started until the economy starts to heal.
Mm-hmm. And I think, if I recall correctly, NYPA also uses unbilled financing to help its customers as well with some of these projects. Is that correct?
Most of our customer projects, whether they're energy efficiency or distributed solar and storage, or digital, smart grid energy solutions, we would finance.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
in most cases, there's no money down from our customers, and they will pay us over time, largely from savings or other values that are generated by those projects.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So as a leader of a large organization, how are you helping your team understand the need to balance doing the urgent job today in terms of not only the everyday job of safe and affordable and reliable electricity, but also the really keeping employees and customers safe in this world of COVID, but balancing those needs with the long-term focus on clean energy and carbon reduction? How do you communicate to the employees and make sure they understand that it's not one or the other, it's both?
Absolutely. When COVID started, obviously our priority was to keep our employees safe and healthy. And we had to hunker down and make sure that our company will be strong and liquid. In fact, we issued long-term bonds in March and April of this year, $1.2 billion, of
Wow.
which almost 800 million are green bonds. So while we were handling the short term of keeping everybody safe and pausing all of our work, we were also making sure that we have enough gunpowder to restart our long-term, not so urgent project, but long-term projects. And so now we're actually at that stage where we're now unpausing a lot of our capital work, and especially our customer-sided projects, efficiency, solar plus storage, EV infrastructure, etc.
Oh, that's great. Well, and so my last question, Gil, is as a leader, what practical advice do you have for other leaders on this issue of balance? You know, what practical things can you do to ensure that you strike the right balance between the urgent, important stuff and the long-term important things that are in front of you?
Yeah, and it really, I think you use the word balance. You have to do both, right? And you need to be able to inspire shared vision with your employees that both are important.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way of orchestrating both sets of things that needs to get done. Here at NYPA, the more urgent, dealing with COVID, we have used the incident command structure. So we have an emergency management team focusing on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the rest of our employees, as we reopen the various regions of our state here in New York, we are now unpausing our capital program, our non-recurring O&M program, our customer-sided programs. And those are they're not as urgent, but they're very important. And we're
Mhm.
trying to catch up because we've been, shut down or paused for the past 3 months.
Yeah. Well, Gil, you and the team at NYPA are certainly some of the leading experts on managing through crisis, between Superstorm Sandy and then the work that you've been doing in both the US Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and helping recover from the crises that happened there with the hurricanes. Certainly I know just from personally working with you and your team, you have so much that others can learn from in terms of how to manage through crisis and still, make sure that the ship is going in the right direction overall. So thank you for doing such a great job with that and setting such a good example for the rest of the industry.
Well, I'm blessed with a great team here at NYPA. I'm blessed with good leadership from our governor, Governor Cuomo. But I'm also blessed having, being associated and being an active member of SEPA. You guys have been great in giving us advice, giving us what's going on around the US, even around the world. And we're really, getting a lot of our good insights from SEPA and your staff. You guys do a fantastic job.
Oh, thanks, Gil. That's appreciated. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your leadership, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Please stay safe and healthy in the meantime.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Please visit sepapower.org for more video interviews and other useful on-demand resources.